It's been a long time coming, over a year in fact, but it's time to finally follow up on this. I'm going to get this out of the way first because it's an aspect of this franchise that causes some level of resentment within me, and I don't think it's a great association to have for a series that I love as much as I love Viewtiful Joe. But Capcom, here's a message directly for you. And I know I'm just one little sneck in a crowd, but it needs to be said. Either do something with the Viewtiful Joe license, or just give the rights to Kamiya and let Platinum finish what it started. I'd settle for him being in Teppen as yet another character skin a la Phoenix Wright, than for you to continue to sit on the rights and do literally nothing as you have since 2005. Either move a piece into play, or leave the game board. Alright, with that out of my system, I can resume this review in earnest. Join me for a closer look at Viewtiful Joe 2. Greetings everyone, this is the Hipster Snack. Today, we'll be looking at 2004's Viewtiful Joe 2, released on the Nintendo GameCube and PS2. Inheriting the first's overall style and picking up directly where the first story came to a close, we hit the ground running right out of the gates as Joe and newly super-powered-up girlfriend Sylvia are immediately besieged by a new evil force, Ghetto, led by the new powerful bad guy, the Black Emperor. Because explaining that the first game's enemy was not named Shadow wasn't difficult enough, I guess. Anyhow, they pour down in their saucers and abduct Captain Blue, turning him into a statue called a Rainbow Oscar, which when together with all 7 in the set, control Movieland's power over the happy ending. This plot is silly, and I love it. It's perfectly in line with the self-aware storytelling found in the first, so having this as a through line to kick off the second is ideal to me. Faced with new enemies and a bunch of collectible artifacts to get, Joe and Sylvia take off into the fringes of Movieland and are forced to fight their way to the heart of it, aided somewhat by Joe's dad, Jet, who acts as camera operator for the duo of heroes from the real world, and thus they begin their journey. Graphically, Viewtiful Joe 2 uses some tricks that the first game used, but refines them one step further. For instance, the same physics used to animate Joe's flowing pink scarf are also used to animate Sylvia's flowing blonde hair. And while I can't quite put my finger on it, on account that I don't have any of those, this game just looks cleaner than the first game, I guess. I have a hard time saying how or why, I just get that vibe from it if that makes any sense. The overall design is fundamentally the same, but more, ultimately embracing the mentality of, if it isn't broke, don't fix it, but still finds a way to enhance in all the best ways, including taking advantage of creative background features, unique and quirky enemies and boss designs, and really polishing it all until it shines. Because it does, so to speak. The way it used a simple body and complex large head gives it an anime-esque aesthetic that translates well into polys, and the use of intense shading contrasted against the bright, vibrant colors cell shading can provide creates a feast for the eyes, especially taking into account that visual effects, VFX abilities, are literally realized due to the movie theme in the game. And musically, the game tells a very similar story. The soundtrack of any Capcom game is always solid, and this is certainly no exception. Music's a treat. The soundtrack could easily stand independent of the game and still be impressive in all the ways that matter. While the unique touch of things like the bonus song Viewtiful World, which punctuated the first game, is absent here, the game is not that much lesser for it. Just absolutely fantastic stuff. And the sound effects, much the same. Each punch and kick is satisfying, particularly when it's slowed down and zoomed in on. More on that in a moment. And one of my favorite upgrades is the extreme use of voice distortion is greatly dialed back. I can understand the bosses perfectly this time, even without the benefit of subtitles. Also, they did a fantastic job giving all the bosses tons of personality. Special shout out to Cameo Leon, being one of the best movie and chameleon-based puns I've ever heard in my life. Speaking of that, let's dive into gameplay next. The core mechanics of the game haven't changed all that much. You'll start off with boring everyday Joe and Sylvia, who take double damage outside of their costumed states, and VFX energy which regenerates at a decent pace. When the first bar of the VFX gauge refills, they'll automatically transform with a hearty Henshin-a-Go-Go, baby, into their superhero alter egos, Viewtiful Joe and... Look, can I be candid for just a split second here? I just got monetized, like, a few weeks ago now. I don't want to lose it already, so bear with me as I just use the anime Dub's nickname, and we'll call her Go-Go Sylvia for this review, okay? Can we do that? Thanks. So, yes, they become the superhero duo of Viewtiful Joe and Go-Go Sylvia. Now, while their basic attacks are similar, there are some key differences. Joe appears to hit slightly harder for individual blow, or I could be hallucinating that, and Sylvia has better access to ranged attacks, but there is one more key difference in their playstyles. While they share the all-purpose VFX power that is slow, which slows the world down around them and doubles the damage of attacks they belt out and also makes them automatically dodge incoming dangers, and zoom, which brings the camera up to them and changes the nature of some of their attacks, they differ for their third powers. Joe retains Mach Speed from the first game, which allows him to attack in a flurry of rapid-fire strikes and, with a power-up, will cause after images to fly out and strike additional foes. If he uses this long enough, it will also cause Joe to build up a fiery aura he can use both for offensive and puzzle-solving purposes. Sylvia, however, gets Replay instead, which causes an action to be repeated 3 times, meaning she can smash enemies with powerful attacks, which will then get tripled, but if the player is careless, this will also cause incoming damage to be tripled instead. This also builds up an electrical aura around Sylvia, allowing her to solve puzzles Joe can't on his own, and tagging between the two on the fly is how you'll pass several levels and challenges you'll find on your way through the game. Apart from that, some other staples remain, including finding film reel items and collecting them in order to extend your VFX energy bar over the course of the stage, and buying additional power-ups with currency you earned along the way, including new attacks and side weapons like the boomerang or the shocking pink explosive. Also, cheeseburgers and what appear to be gourds of sake are recovery items, due to a Japanese tradition of pairing these items together for some reason, apparently. And after each encounter with enemies and puzzles, you'll be graded on how well you performed in terms of damage taken, time spent, and your overall style. The highest possible grade being V for Viewtiful, of course. At this point, it's just tackling the various challenges thrown at you, be it waves of enemies, chiefly new-styled Bianchis, or clever puzzles utilizing both Joe and Sylvia's toolkits to clear, culminating in huge, larger-than-life boss battles with each stage. And they do not disappoint, mostly original battles with some nods to the first game, including return of fan favorite Alistair. Though, if I must nitpick, it is that Joe's slow zoom Red Hot 100 combo remains the absolute best combat staple, easily dealing the highest amount of damage versus any enemy in the game. Its sole drawback is that Joe has relatively short arms, so he has to be up in the enemy's face to use it effectively, but seeing as it simply deletes enemies from existence when it's brought to bear, it really is the ultimate means of dispatching enemies. Hey, there's an idea. That could be an interesting challenge run. Do a playthrough of this game where the player deliberately forbids themselves use of that combo. That's an interesting idea. That aside, every aspect of this game has been polished to sheer luster, with combat being tight and frenetic, every stage having its own feel to it, and the bosses all having interesting twists on a power set that really is pretty simple on the surface. It just goes to show how a creative team, given the power to make something their passion project, can really do their best. Which leads me to my least favorite part of this review, the downside. And that was in 2004. And apart from 2 spin-off games and an appearance in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Viewtiful Joe has just been sitting around collecting dust. And it kills me to have to say it, but Capcom has out and out said they've no interest in doing anything with the franchise now. But that will not stop me from harassing the Play Teppen Twitter every time they ask what franchise I want to see incorporated into the card game, with me peppering in the likes of Joe and Sylvia again and again and again. And unless we make our voices heard, they will continue to ignore us. But I'm not giving up easy on this. We got Mega Man 11 after years of dormancy. They can definitely conclude the story of these amazing games and finally give us Viewtiful Joe 3. Or give the rights to the man who said that he actually would. But that's enough negativity. Altogether, Viewtiful Joe 2 is an amazing and worthy successor to the first game. Similar, but more. And more is all I wanted. It's fun, it's well written, it's well designed, and the gameplay is chiefly of all fun. And that's all you need to know that it's worth your while. If you're PS2 or GameCube and or Wii are collecting dust, I guarantee you'll enjoy your time blasting through this amazing game, whether it's the first time you do it or a repeat visit. And that's the final word on this obscure review. This has been the Viewtiful Snack, bringing another review for your entertainment. If you liked it, be sure to hit the like button so I know. If you remember playing these games, leave a comment and tell me so. I'd love to hear your story. And for more like this each week, be sure to subscribe for more snacking 5 days a week. Obscure reviews, snack play, snack tech, snack fails, and more to come. You never know what will happen next, but I can promise you this: I will see you there.